And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the March 7th, 2014 live broadcast worldwide transmission of Truth Radio Show with Dan Bidondi right here on 990 WBOB.com. And folks, we got a great show for you, and I'm not going to sit here and rant and rave because I got a stack of news on this table I want to cover. Every week I get into the show, I bring stacks of news, and I don't even touch like 2 or 3 of them. And I got like 6 stacks of news on my desk, and I need to cover this stuff because there's a lot of stuff going on here in the world. And at the second hour, we got 2-star guests coming on. First at 9 o'clock at the top of the hour, Jakari Jackson from Infowars.com, Infowars.com reporter. He won the Infowars.com reporter contest, and I followed suit number 2. And Jakari, I voted for him myself during the contest, and because I never vote for myself. And plus, Jakari is an outstanding reporter. I worked with this guy and got to be friends with him. I can't say enough about him. He's such a great person, very professional, very great person to be around with and hang out with. I mean, I love the guy. He's awesome. And right after him at 9:30, we got Dr. Scott Liveley. He's an activist, author, pastor, lawyer. He won a Human Rights Award in France, and he's also running for governor of Massachusetts in 2014 here, governor candidate, and he'll be joining us after Jakari, and he's going to be addressing the whole Ukraine crisis going on. He was out in the Ukraine, and he wants to come on the show to talk about what's going on in the Ukraine. And him being the pastor, I'm sure he's going to relate a lot of biblical stuff that has to do with what's going on with the world, not just Ukraine, but the whole world crisis here. And folks, things are heating up. That's all I have to say before we get into that, the world news. Things are heating up bad. You got a cat and mouse game. You got Obama and Putin playing chicken, so to speak, and putting the whole world at jeopardy. We're going to cover that. And again, we got a lot of news, so I'm going to get right into the news without further delay. And if folks, please check me out. All my stats, everything about me, my past shows, the video broadcast shows, and everything else are on my website, truthradio.show.com. And again, truthradio.show.com. I got a donation page. And again, all the funds and proceeds go right to the show. And to print this stuff out, it costs an arm and a leg alone. But anyway, truthradio.show.com. Check me out. And again, we got Jakari Jackson joining us at the next hour. It's followed by Scott Liveley. And folks, we're going to have a jam-packed show. So without further ado, let's get right to the news because, folks, this world is heating up. I mean, I can't say that enough. And we're going to get right into the news here. We're going to dive right in. Dyson with death. Scientists are attempting to reactivate a 30,000-year-old virus. From Underground Medic reports, a study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, known as the PNAS, has revealed that scientists have reactivated a virus found buried in a Siberian permafrost after throwing it out and found it retained its infectious ability. The French scientists say that the virus poses no danger to either animals or humans. But wait a minute, if it's infectious, how do you, first of all, it's 30,000 years. I don't think the planet's that old, to tell you the truth, but we're not going to get into that. But old virus, why would you want to reanimate this? It's a virus. And how do you know it has no effect to humans or no effect to animals? You don't know that. So let's reactivate, I should say, a 30,000-year-old virus. Yeah, that's definitely Dyson with death. That's a great title for that article. And now you got the university bans unvaccinated students from school after mumps outbreak. This is from Infowars.com. One university in New York is telling students they can't attend class if they haven't been vaccinated after a mumps outbreak, which has been plastered across mainstream media outlets. The worst part is that the students suffering from the rash of mumps cases were all vaccinated. So, all right, let me get to psychology. We talked about this before. I don't want to get too far into this, but let's, students that haven't got vaccinated, you can't come to school. But the vaccine is supposed to protect you from the mumps. So if everybody's vaccinated and you got some people who don't want to get vaccinated because it's that civil right to do so, what are you afraid of? If the vaccines work and protect you, what are you afraid of? If you're so-called protected, it's stupid. It really is. It's contrary to what the vaccines are supposed to be like. We know they're deadly. We know it's part of the eugenics process. And moving on, we got mom who drove kids into the ocean, another victim of antidepressants. This is from Paul Joseph Watson, Infowars. Numerous previous cases of mothers on SSRI drugs killing their own children. Reports that the pregnant woman that drove her 3 children into the ocean appeared to be in a daze before a bizarre incident suggests that 32-year-old Ebony Wilkerson may have been another victim of antidepressant drugs. And folks, so we have countless of stories. Big Pharma, you go to your doctor, I'm feeling a little depressed, they put you on an antidepressant drug, which makes you more. I mean, anybody, all you have to do is have brain one, mind of your own, any drug, okay, that the TV plasters out, or takes Cialis or whatever, listen to the side effects. May cause drowsy, diarrhea, heart attacks, severe heart attacks, death. I mean, like, why would you want to take the stuff? And what you're taking it for makes it worse. Doesn't make sense. But it's shown right here that these people are victims of these antidepressant drugs. They're mind-eating drugs. And now you got Saudi Arabia bans energy drinks at public facilities and outlaws advertising. This is from Gulf News. Saudi Arabia has banned the sale of energy drinks at all public education and health facilities, and rightfully so. Because the kids, I mean, here in America, everywhere, they're downing energy drinks. And I'd be a hypocrite to say if I didn't drink them, I do. I shouldn't, but I do. So I'd be a hypocrite to say anything else. But kids are downing these folks, and they, you know, especially in college, because there's a lot of pressure. They stay up all night to study for exams, and they have to read books. So they're downing energy drinks. And how many cases of heart attacks has these energy drinks caused? And a ban was announced by the government following its weekly session on Monday. It also imposes on all cafeterias, eateries, and food outlets at government establishments and institutions, public and private gyms, and fitness and health clubs in the kingdom. Again, this is from Saudi Arabia. And that's rightfully so, I think. And now you got Obama House votes to nullify Agenda 21, 62-26, which is great news, folks. Reported from the 10th Amendment Center.com, a bill that would nullify Agenda 21 in Oklahoma passed through the State House today. And, you know, as a matter of fact, folks, I'm going to bring Dave Kopaz on. Try to get him on next week or the week after. He's an expert in Agenda 21. He's a huge activist, GOP leader in Massachusetts. So we had him on Infowars.com on the nightly news. I had the privilege of interviewing him on the nightly news, and we got to bring on other experts too. But Agenda 21, folks, study Agenda 21. We don't have time to get directly into Agenda 21, but it's by the United Nations. It's today's eugenics process. That's all it is. It's eugenics with a new name slapped on it. And HB 2805, the Oklahoma Community Protection Act, would prohibit any state agency or political subdivision from adopting or implementing policy recommendations that deliberately or inadvertently infringe upon or restrict private property rights without due process. Now, again, Agenda 21 goes into eugenics. It goes into taking your property away. I mean, the whole diversity thing. I mean, it's so complex, Agenda 21. Just go to the United Nations website. It's not a conspiracy. Go right to the UN's website, type in Agenda 21, and read it for yourself. And also, while you're there, I want you to read John P. Holdren's Eco-Science. That's Obama's science White House czar. Okay, he wrote a book called Eco-Science and follows suit with Agenda 21, openly stating, yes, we've got to use vaccines to depopulate the planet. Bill Gates in the 2010 TED conference meeting stated that. We report that all the time, actually. Yeah, folks, there's a lot of news here, so that's why I'm kind of zipping through a little bit, and we just got to cover a lot of this news. And, you know, again, study Agenda 21. I'm going to bring Dave Kopaz or somebody expert in Agenda 21, and we're going to bring him on the show to talk about this. And so if you guys can remind me, Kevin, just remind me Dave Kopaz, Agenda 21, and we're going to try to get him on the show. And we got Homeland Security use intercepted emails to quiz women about her sex life. This is from Paul Joseph Watson. A senior lecturer at Indiana University was confronted by Department of Homeland Security officials after the federal agency obtained copies of her emails and began quizzing her about the details of her sex life. So, it sounds like, because TSA is under the wing of Homeland Security. So these people love nothing more just to get involved in your sex life. And not only that, they love to grope you. They love to stick their fingers inside you and pat you down in the wrong places. And the ACLU is filing a lawsuit on behalf of Kristen von der Haar after she was detained by Customs and Border Patrol at an Indianapolis International Airport during her incident in 2012. So I hope she wins this lawsuit, because Homeland Security, stay the hell out of our pants. Stay the hell out of our sex life. You don't need to know nothing, okay? You have no jurisdiction, no business to know what the hell we're doing, what we like to, in our sexual preferences or whatever. But we're going to go to a break. When we get back, we got a special report, secret spy link between fusion centers and private sector exposed. And we're going to get into fusion centers in the future in this show with FEMA and all that. But stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back. And folks, I can't say enough how much stuff we need to cover on the show. I mean, again, I could be here for 6 hours a day and not even touch the fabric of all the garbage that's going on in this world. And her name is Rosa Curry, I believe. She wrote the book Behind the Green Mask. We got it on InfoWarsStore.com if you want to check it out. Great book, exposes Agenda 21. I'm going to try to bring her on also. And I'm going to get in touch with her and Dave Kopaz, have them come on the show and talk about Agenda 21, because it goes from anything from politics to diversity to anything from eugenics. I mean, they cover the whole spectrum, and it's all diabolical. And we're going to also, talk about the fusion centers. A lot of people are not aware of what fusion centers are. The Council of Governors that were never elected, were appointed by Obama, 5 Republicans, 5 Democrats, Council of Governors that nobody elected. And they rule over, they call FEMA zones. FEMA region zones. You can look that up on Google. It's in the National Archives. They split the country into 10 zones, which are controlled, they call, in New England here, we're called FEMA Region 1. That's on record. That's right on FEMA's website. And they get the fusion centers, which monitor. It's a command center of that region that monitors and gets details on people like me, Alex Jones, and everybody else here, whatever. They get in detail information, and they build up a case basically against us so-called, tinfoil hat wearers, conspiracy. Actually, I'm going to come in someday with a tinfoil hat, because I do a video broadcast. That's on my website, truthradio.show.com. It should be up by Monday, this video broadcast, because I post the articles on the screen, and when I talk about them, they're on the screen, the documents and everything, so there's no denying, and you could do the research yourself to see for yourself what I'm talking about. So we've got a special report, secret spy link between fusion centers and private sector exposed. Infowars reports local law enforcement agencies across the country are at this very moment employing high-tech control grid surveillance technology in purported efforts to fight crime. So-called, so they say. And the out-of-control spying of the American people doesn't make sense, considering most U.S. cities are already enjoying a huge drop in violent crime because more people have guns. That's why. That's on record. And the truth is, police and private sector businesses are assisting in the implementation of total surveillance precaution meant to keep American public under control. Some of these words I have a hard time pronouncing, so it sounds kind of funny, whatever. And again, we're going to get a breakdown what fusion centers are. We're going to get into all that. The FEMA camps, the HR 645, that's all on record. And I'm not sure, I'm not sound like a conspiracy theorist, because that's all on record. Admitted by FEMA, admitted by Halliburton, admitted by the Department of Homeland Security. And fusion centers are a big part of this, folks. It's an intel center. They have them in every state, just about. And these people are worse than the NSA, or just as bad, I should say. And they work hand in hand with them. And speaking of that, the NSA, Edward Snowden, stated, "I raised NSA concerns internally over 10 times before going rogue." This is reported by the Washington Post. Former National Security Agency contractor Edward Snowden said he repeatedly tried to go through official channels to raise concerns about government snooping programs, but that his warnings fell on deaf ears. And my hat's off to Edward Snowden, and I hope the Russian government keeps it safe, because, and the thing is, if he wants to come back here, I know because people want to prosecute him, the American people should stand up in arms not just stand up yelling. Stand up in arms, okay, and protects Edward Snowden to come back to this country. And they might try to go arrest him. You stop them dead in their tracks, bottom line. This guy's a national hero. He should be treated one. This guy has got my vote for the Nobel Peace Prize. Instead of electing tyrants every year, Bill Gates, the eugenic scum, Obama, the murdering scum, Al Gore, the fictitious global warming scum. Instead of giving these scum Nobel Peace Prizes, give a real hero like Edward Snowden a Peace Prize. And now you get the CIA. We only spied on the Senate because they took classified documents that prove we're liars. Because we don't want to expose how we're lying, how we spy on anybody like the CIA, NSA does. And this is from Tech Dirt. Earlier this week, we wrote about the accusations that the CIA was spying on Senate staffers on the Senate Intelligence Committee as they were working on a massive $40 million, 6,300-page report condemning the CIA's torture program. And the Department of Justice is apparently already investigating the CIA violated computer hacking laws and spying on the Senate Intelligence Committee computers. So why don't we do away with the CIA, do away with the NSA? These people are criminals. They're Nazi rat lines. That's on record, too. And why are we putting up with this? Why ain't people storming the CIA buildings, storming the NSA buildings down in Langley, the CIA there, surround the buildings with your video cameras, even, on the fence it says no video surveillance, no, photographs. Go down there by the masses and take pictures of these people. Give them a taste of their own medicine. They can't arrest you all. And if they go to arrest you, resist them because they have no jurisdiction. And if they go to put the handcuffs on you, you slap them right across the head and put their own handcuffs back on them. They have no jurisdiction outside of Washington, D.C. It's posse comitatus. And now you have commercial drones are completely illegal. A federal judge ruled. And I got to get a pee pop on because I got poop into the microphone. I don't know how it sounds on the broadcast, because my peas are too popping. But anyway, this is from The Verge. An administrative judge on the National Transportation Safety Board has ruled that the commercial use of small drones is, in fact, legal, despite 6 years of Federal Aviation Administration statements to the contrary. But the thing is, the whole thing is, they don't want civilians or the commercial industry owning drones. They just want federal or local police to own drones so they can spy on you. And I say we get a public fund together, every state does this, under the militia groups, build our own armed drones and shoot the damn federal drones out of the sky. Like Judge Napolitano said, the first American to shoot a drone out of the sky will be a national hero. And we should do this. You should build armed drones or kamikaze drones and fly them into the federal drones to teach them, hey, stay the hell out of our business, stay the hell out of life. And if you think I'm radical, well, that's, what do you think the founding fathers would do? And today, Judge Patrick Gentry dismissed a $10,000 fine levied by the FAA against Rafael Perca, a Swiss drone operator who used a camera drone to film on his University of Virginia campus. So, that's good news, because we got a lot of good news and bad news. And seems like when the Supreme Court or the federal courts rule in favor of constitutionality, they go again to keep the scale even and rule against the Constitution. So, it's a back and forth toss up, and we having some victories. And the thing is, you got to understand, folks, one victory compared to the tons of losses we have, one victory is bigger than 10 of their victories. One voice in the truth is bigger than 10 years of their work. Just 1 hour in a year, I could ruin 10 years of their work. I could expose 10 years of their work, and it all go to crumble when people listen. That's how powerful truth is. They have the nuclear bombs. They have all the high-tech weapons. But the thing is one thing they still can't stop. Is a person with a voice. A person has the courage to stand up against them. And that's me. And I have the courage. I'm not a perfect person, but I do have the courage. And I'm not afraid of these scum. And by what I'm talking about and what I expose on the show, it ruins years and years of their work. So don't ever think one man can't make a difference. Because resistance is victory, folks. And now you got Senator Ted Cruz calls for abolishing the IRS. Well, JFK tried to do that with Executive Order 1110, which was never stopped. And so somebody should resurrect that executive order. But Senator Ted Cruz told the CPAC in 2014 on Thursday, the government needs to abolish the IRS. There should be a flat tax, he said. Americans should be able to file their own taxes on a postcard. And Cruz first called for a flat tax in 2013 as the IRS scandal picked up steam. So, yeah, we got the IRS targeting Tea Parties, targeting activist groups, targeting patriots because they're afraid because they are losing the war, folks. So Hillary Clinton admitted a couple of years ago, yes, she said right out, we are losing the information war. We are having major victories, folks, just by people like yourself out there listening right now, standing up, writing your blogs, making your videos, going on your radio shows, your podcasts, doing what you're doing, going out to rallies, standing in front of the state houses and federal buildings and so on. We're having great victory, folks. And now you have alleged Bitcoin founder did classified work for the U.S. military. And we had, last week we talked about the Bitcoin, and there's a lot of red flags that go up in my head. But anyway, Satoshi Nakamoto, this is reported by Infowars, the alleged Bitcoin founder was outed yesterday by Newsweek, did classified work for the U.S. military and major corporations, a fact that will sit uncomfortably with many Bitcoin proponents should it be confirmed that Nakamoto is indeed the father of the cryptocurrency. So again, he has another red flag, folks. We got a government agent behind Bitcoin. So he has another red flag, another stack against Bitcoin we talked about last week. And now you have a massive dinosaur soft tissue discovery in China. Includes skin and feathers. And folks, we've got to bring on Eric Hovind from creationminute.com, drdino.com, drdino.com. He's the son of the famous Kent Hovind, evangelist scientist who disproves evolution. So basically what they're saying here is a fossil, this is from the Truth news source, a fossil bed in China that is being called the Jurassic Park has yielded perhaps the greatest dinosaur soft tissue discovery of all time. According to the media reports, nearly complete skeletons have been discovered that even include skin and feathers, but of course, these dinosaurs are really 160 million years old. That should be absolutely impossible. And they send that out of sarcasm. And they don't tell you when they undig these, when they dig up these dinosaur bones, a lot of times they find human bones with the dinosaur bones. The same age. And they tell you in science books that dinosaurs lived before humans. That is a cockamamie lie. There is no science, and evolution is not science. There's no science in evolution. Evolution is a belief. It's a false religion. It's created by the Illuminati. Charles Darwin, Charles Dawson, Pierre Teilhard Chardin, which they were part of the Freemasonry and the Illuminati. Do your study.
Bottom line, it's a theory.
Yeah, it's a theory, and Charles Darwin stated that. And we got to go to a break, but when we get back, we got scientists can now control flies' brains with lasers. So here we go, stepping more into splicing genes and all this crazy scientific stuff. But we'll be right back on Truth Radio Show with Dan Bidondi. And speaking of Bitcoin here, folks, we got Bitcoin firm CEO found dead in suspected suicide. And this is from the New York Post reporting. Autumn Rocky, 28 years old, the American chief executive of Singapore-based virtual currency company First Meta. Basically, she was found dead, and they don't know if it's a suicide or we think it's a murder or whatever. But, folks, there's a lot of red flags about Bitcoin. We talked about that last week. We don't have time to get into all that. We got a lot of news to cover, but we're gonna probably. I'm trying to bring on. I'm gonna get in touch with Mark Dice. We're going to try and bring Mark Dice in. And yeah, he's really familiar with Bitcoin and everything about it. And he thinks it's the Illuminati agenda behind us. And I believe that too. I believe that wholeheartedly. And I talked to Doc Marquise about that. He agrees with it. All these Illuminati people agree with this. And so we're going to bring Mark Dice on and probably Doc Marquise again and talk about Bitcoin. But for now, we got scientists can now control flies' brains with lasers. We got a little brush along here. A laser beam can alter the fly's behavior and make it mate with just about anything. Okay, and even a ball of wax, according to the scientists at Howard Hughes Medical Institute. So let me say, these guys get paid, what, 6 figures a year to make a fly have sex with the ball of wax. So this is where our tax dollars are going.
Boy.
The researchers had developed an experiment which involves shining and infrared lasers directly at the head of the fly whose brain has been altered using heat-activated proteins. This alteration allows the laser, dubbed the fly's mind-altering device. So, folks, be careful because there's going to be flies coming around trying to have sex with you on your tax dollars.
I want my damn tax dollars back.
So that's what your kids are learning in college, dumbed down schools. It's how to try to make a fly have sex with the ball of wax. Anyway, moving on. San Francisco bar bans Google glasses after attack. A San Francisco south of Market bar, frequently a high-tech crowd has banned patrons from wearing Google glasses while inside the establishment, CBS San Francisco reports. And basically the bar bans the Google glasses because people coming in, and Google has real-time recording. We got into that before, how Google just basically spies on everybody. It's a NSA tool, that's all it is, and people becoming aware of this, and we don't want to be spied on, so now that's why they're banning the Google glasses. And now you got 1/3 of Americans say Obamacare had negative personal impact. Curtin Nimmo reports, Infowars, and the result of Rasmussen's polls released on Monday show that a large number of Americans would have been better off without Obama's mandatory health care. And I believe earlier this year, the 29% said the law had negatively impacted their health care plans. Only 14% say the plan helped them. In January, the number stood at 16%, according to the Rasmussen's poll. And there's more on this article on Infowars.com by Curtin Nimmo. And now, speaking of Obamacare, now they want to apply a surcharge on restaurant bills across the country. Reports by Don Salazar, Infowars.com. The small business mandate doesn't go into effect until 2015, but restaurants across the country are already passing the extra costs associated with having to offer health care to their employees and to the consumers. Double D's Sourdough Pizza in Denver recently started adding a 5% charge to the customers' bills in order to pay for half of the health care costs of their employees, for both full and part-time, according to CBS in Denver. And folks, it's happening already. I mean, affordable health care, but our employees have to pay for it. Our employers have to pay for it. Then our taxes have to pay for it. How is that affordable? And it's just getting worse, folks. The RFID chip in it. We're going to bring Catherine Albright on the show sometime to talk about the RFID chip, and which is I 99.9% believe and know, not believe, but 100% know and believe that that is the mark of the beast as described in Revelations. It's pages 1001 and 1008 in the Obamacare health care bill, and about the RFID chip. And folks, Obamacare is tyrannical all the way around. And now you got Missouri teachers object to being shot during drills. And Curtin Nimmo reports that Missouri students and teachers required to, by law, to participate in active shooter drills. So they're scaring the kids and scaring the teachers to say, oh, we have to have drills, real life drills, or somebody shooting, you know. And teachers in St. Francis County, Missouri, have complained after they were told part of their duties include being shot at with pellet guns during active shooter drills. Officials told the teachers they would be required to wear goggles to protect their eyes. So yeah, so you got to be fake shot and blood and everything else in front of your students. Probably going to scare the hell out of them. And that conditioned the kids, folks. And this is unbelievable. And the teachers, you got my support. You should stand up against us. You got a good union. The teachers' union should be fighting against this. This is government intrusion. You tell the state police, the local police, the government to stay the hell out of your school. Bottom line. That's taxpayers' money, not the government. And London mayor calls for, and speaking of nanny state, you got the London mayor, reported from Infowars.com, Paul Joseph Watson. London mayor calls for state to take children based on parents' political beliefs. So people up on the screen, you got to see this on the broadcast, the video broadcast transmission. But you got Boris Johnson who there's a London mayor here calling for parents with radical political beliefs should have their children taken by the state, according to London Mayor Boris Johnson. A chilling prospect given that the parents who support major political parties like UKIP, that's out in the UK there, are already being targeted by social services. And if you don't think this is coming to the United States, folks, they are already doing it. A couple of years ago, the CPS took the little baby girl, 2 months old, from the parents because the father was an oath keeper. Baby Cheyenne, that was, if you Google Baby Cheyenne, Baby Cheyenne from the Oath Keepers, when the parents got the baby back from CPS custody, they went to change the diaper, and the diaper was full of blood. This has all been reported, folks. It's out in Maine, I believe it was. And they brought it to the hospital, and the hospital had tests done and confirmed that the 2-month-old child was sexually molested by CPS, folks. These people are criminals. They're scum. And yeah, if you don't think they're raping your kids, folks, they're raping them more ways than one, mentally, physically. And more kids are molested under CPS care than with negligent parents. This is all on record. And they supply kids on, orphan kids on the black market. It goes deep, folks. The CPS, the DHS, Department of Human Services, child parent systems, and
Disney.
Yeah, yeah.
You see that? 3 Disney workers found doing something sketchy.
Oh, yeah. And a couple of years ago, the Pentagon, I think it was 1,600, don't quote me on the number, 1,600 Pentagon officials found with child porn on their computers. Nothing got done. Now, a guy like my brother, some guy sent him a picture of a 17-year-old girl, naked one. She was fully developed. My brother just looked at the picture. He had the FBI banging his door in. He almost went to jail for that. Now he's got to be listed on a sex offender list because he got set up by somebody sending him a picture. And I shouldn't be saying that on the air, but the thing is, people got to bring that up against me, and I have to say what happened. And it's, folks, these people are criminals, and this Child Protective Service, the Department of Human Services, has got to be stopped. I mean, these people are molesting scum. I mean, you can see them. I mean, you can see the deranged looks in their eyes. I mean, you get this... Like in Walmart, I mean, you can see, you could tell this guy was a CPS worker. He was like in this car, and he's like, I'm bringing my child, and he's just like staring like this, just drooling. It's like, it's like one of those Chester the Molester looking people, you know what I mean? And this fat guy and bald, and there's a belly sticking out of his shirt, just staring. Like,
remember the FBI agent at the Boston Marathon press conference, looking at me?
Oh, yeah.
Remember on the video? He was just like, why look at me? Of all the people in the press conference, hundreds of news camera crews,
it's unbelievable,
they're looking at me.
It's unbelievable, man. And I tell you, it's like crazy stuff. And you probably thought you were under 18, so he's like, oh, yeah. Oh, that's a good sacrifice right there. Well, yeah, speaking of that, man, we got Facebook. Facebook is under attack. I mean, I got some articles here I've got to go through quick. They got a video posted on Infowars. Video: Bloomberg wants to ban free speech on Facebook. The statistics from all over the world are very clear. More guns equal less crimes. But however, Bloomberg is pushing Facebook to ban free speech on Facebook. And speaking of that, Facebook to place guns in the same category as porn. Bloomberg Group to push gun control through Facebook, which is now restricting pro-gun free speech. Reported by Kit Daniels of Infowars, great reporter. Through sweeping policy changes, Facebook is now threatening gun-related content as pornography on its social media site, included restrictions on users under 18 from seeing firearms-related content and forced indoctrination of gun control propaganda targeted at user interests in firearms. So, yeah, we don't want the kids seeing how important the Second Amendment is, so we got to take that away because kids, guns are bad. It wasn't guns that won the revolution. No, it was Obama. Obama won the revolution back in 1776. Al Gore did. Al Gore won the revolution. He makes a wild-eyed claim, so might as well claim that. And Facebook's buying 11,000 drones to connect Africa. This is reported by the London Telegraph. Facebook is in negotiations to buy a drone manufacturer with the aim of using its high-altitude autonomous aircraft to beam internet connections to isolated communities in Africa, according to the reports. So they want everybody on Facebook. That, they already want everybody on the internet so they could control you, monitor what you're doing, who you are, what you're about. And, again, Facebook buying 11,000 drones to connect with Africa. And, again, Bloomberg, here we go again. Bloomberg moves to ban pro-gun speech on Facebook. Another article by Kit Daniels. Facebook is now working with former New York mayor to censor support for the Second Amendment. Facebook is currently working with 2 anti-gun groups to further restrict firearm discussions on its various pages, in the move that will likely lead to an outright censorship of gun topics throughout the social media site. So don't post your guns, folks, because God forbid somebody learns what the Second Amendment's about. And we're going to we're going to touch briefly with the Ukraine news, because I don't want to get too much, because we're going to have Dr. Scott Liveley coming on in approximately 40 minutes or so after Jakari Jackson. He's going to get right into the whole Ukraine world crisis, but I'm going to report on the world news here. You got the BBC now admits armed Nazis led revolution in Kyiv, Ukraine. And we're going to go to a break, and when we get back, we got Obama and Putin are trapped in the macho game of chicken, and the whole world could pay the price. And that's reported from Economic Collapse, and we'll be right back with that report. And folks, we are on the brink of World War III. Got Obama and Putin playing the game of chicken. And we're going to move through these real quick, the world news, because I want to get into the guns and I want to get into the police state. And we're going to, the reason why, because we're going to have Dr. Scott Liveley to talk about the world crisis going on. So we're just going to zip through the headlines of this right now. Obama and Putin are trapped in the macho game of chicken, and the whole world could pay the price. And that's from the Economic Collapse. And you got the looting of Ukraine has begun. And that's reported from Infowars.com. North Korea tyrant Kim Jong-un to execute 33 Christians, Breitbart.com reports. The supreme leader of North Korea has called for the execution of 33 people for reportedly working as accomplices of South Korea Baptist Missionary Church. So the war on Christians, I'm sure Dr. Scott Lively is going to get into that. And don't forget, we got Jakari Jackson coming on in the next segment. And central banker, Prime Minister says Ukraine ready for IMF auction block. So we know the IMF is taking over the Ukraine, and the IMF, they're taking over globally. I mean, the IMF controls us, they control the UK, they control everybody. And that's a critical report. And they got Prime Minister says Russia has declared war on the UK. Reported by Paul Joseph Watson. We are on the brink of a disaster. Moscow's move to occupy Crimea with Russian troops and a declaration of war on the Ukraine, according to the interim Prime Minister Arseny Yatsenuk, whatever, I can't pronounce his name, but and ratcheting up the new Cold War, U.S. sends F-15s to Poland. And you got Obama's teaming up with neo-Nazis in Ukraine. And are the U.S. and the U.K. bound to intervene in the Ukraine? And anybody can answer that. Yes, they are, because the U.S. and the U.K., they can't mind their damn business. And report North Korea fires short-range missiles warning shots. And you got North Korea stepping in here. Russia and China in agreement over the Ukraine. So here we go. Alliances are being drawn here. Major air defense exercise begin in Russia, Western Military District. And this is crazy stuff, folks. And Ron Paul says U.S. attempting empire building in the Ukraine. And Ron Paul is right. This is what it's all about. It's not liberating Ukraine. It's not helping them. It's expanding the empire of the tyrannical United Nations and the U.S. government. Not the people, the government. Expanding the empire on the whole United Nations. That's what it's all about. The IMF and more control for the New World Order. And we're going to blast through here because we want to talk about the guns quick. Russia has reportedly halted all exports to the U.S. of Russian-made ammunition. And SHTFPplan.com reports. And basically this is the 7.62 ammunition. It's very popular ammo for the AK-47s and so on. Here in America, a lot of American gun owners buy tons and tons of Russian ammunition. And I just say, if anybody from Russia or Putin could hear, just sell them to the people. Just sell the ammunition to the people because, folks, you people in Russia, we're at war with our own government, too. So they got the tyrannical Homeland Security attempt in the UN to try to come take our guns. So sell only the citizens of America this ammunition. No government agencies. And Idaho lawmakers okay guns on college campuses. And there was a big debate about that recently. And the Gantt Daily reports that the Idaho House voted 50 to 19 Thursday to pass controversial bill allowing concealed firearms on state college campuses. And that's a good victory. And everybody should have a firearm. And government police radar crowd scanner to detect 3D printing weapons. Steve Watson reports the British government and the Metropolitan Police have funded for a crowd scanning device that searches for 3D printing guns. So here we go. We're going to go after your guns, your 3D guns.
Was that a special radiation?
Oh, yeah. I'm sure it's not healthy for you. And it's like backscatter radiation more likely. And Canadian Mounties override civilian rule to arbitrary ban on confiscating firearms. And Don Salazar reports RCMP turned thousands of law-abiding Canadian gun owners into criminals overnight. And it's not only happening in Connecticut. They're attempting here in Rhode Island right now. And me and Kevin here confronted Joe Media yesterday. And we're going to get into that some other time if we have time at the end of the show. Don Salazar reports the Royal Canadian Mounted Police are acting on their own authority to arbitrarily reclassify ban on ultimate confiscation certain rifles, contemptible actions for which Canadian citizens seemingly have no recourse. So they're going after your guns too, Canadians, and 10-year-old suspended for pointing finger like a gun. Like this happens all the time. The Pop-Tart, the toy gun with the
bubbles.
The bubble Hello Kitty gun. Now a kid pointing his fingers like a gun. School cities level 2 look like firearm. And I'm sure they closed the whole school down because the kid was going to kill people, shoot up the school with his fingers. Oh, my God. So let's have this kid arrested, you know.
I think we got to run drills for that, too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because God forbid he whips out that Pop-Tart. Oh, my God. God forbid. The school would be, there would be deaths everywhere.
It looks like a gun.
Oh, man, the bubble gun, forget it. I mean, they would have to call Homeland Security in for this. And this is crazy stuff. And Molon Labe, Connecticut Gun Group, issues ultimatum to government. Paul Joseph Watson reports that after gun owners in Connecticut revolted against a gun control law by refusing to register their assault rifles in high-capacity magazines, one Second Amendment group is calling on the government to either enforce gun confiscations or repeal it. Basically, they're calling their bluff. Hey, you want gun confiscation? Come get it. Well, come and try to get it. That's what they're trying to say. Enforce the law, step up to the plate or get the hell out of here. And that's what they're trying to say. Now they're attacking Maryland now. Showdown in Maryland to target 110,000 citizens with gun confiscation. Paul Joseph Watson reports a new law would link gun registry with criminal database. Authorities in Maryland are set to target 110,000 citizens with gun confiscation under a new law. And again, it's a state registry with the gun, same thing they have in Connecticut, and they're trying to push in Rhode Island. So now Maryland, which is a big pro-gun state, a big one, which I think they're going to fail miserably because I have relatives in Maryland, and I know the people in Maryland will not tolerate that crap. I know that. My aunt and uncle included. My aunt, she's like about 98 pounds, and she could shoot a .44 Magnum with one arm. Most men can't do that. And hit the target dead on. I mean, I seen a shoot. And now you got Connecticut Patriot Group fights back against confiscation order, which we talked about. This is kind of old news, but the Patriot Groups are fighting back. And now you got a gun store saying that give them your bullets first. Texas activists show solidarity with Connecticut gun owners. Gun shop owners in Texas Firearms Freedom and Come and Take It in Texas show solidarity with their Connecticut brothers in arms. Basically says, hey, they want your firearms? Give them the bullets first. And it's insane how they're just attacking our gun rights. And we got about 4 minutes left, and so I want to touch on the police state here because they're going to have Jakari Jackson joining us. I'm sorry to zip through the news, folks. There's just so much we have to cover this, and I sit here and ramble on, and I never get to cover nothing. But you got Obama assassination cartoon prompt Secret Service visit. Don Salazar reports that. It's a cool cartoon, but the Secret Service came to harass him because, it was a dream of him assassinating Obama. Well, God forbid. And IRS prepared to enforce Obamacare with fines and fees. And here we go. Harry Reid and the Democrats are determined to shove the historical monstrosity, down your throat. And TSA detains libertarian blogger after seeing Bitcoin in his bag. And this was last week. A man was detained traveling through Manchester, New Hampshire, airport, was stopped and harassed by the TSA because he had Bitcoins on him. And there was a Patriot, too. That's a big reason why. Whistleblower exposes secret fusion center operations. And Liberty Beast, using the September 11 attacks as justification for the implementation of ongoing domestic surveillance, the U.S. government has spent billions of dollars building what they call fusion centers, and we're going to get more into fusion centers, folks. We're going to expose them, and information sharing centers. And you got the Supreme Court expands police authority in home searches, and basically saying if one party consents in the home search, regardless if they live there or not, if one person says they could come in, they'll come in, and anybody opposes it, they arrest them. That's LA Times reporting that. And California police unveil armored surveillance vehicles, which we have them here. That's my buddy Michael Dallin, Infowars.com journalist. Police vehicles are in California, Modesto, California, unveiled. Big, giant 20-ton armored vehicles, look tanks, and you got cops backed Texas restaurant that legally kicked vet service dog out. And it was Don Salazar reports how a veteran came in with a service dog. They kicked him out, long story short. And the police backed up the restaurant. Oh, you can't have your service dog. And again, they're attacking the veterans, folks. Number one terror threat on Homeland Security's list is returning veterans. And cops now reaching for guns against citizens who video record them. And they don't want you to record them. That's why we talked about last week. They're trying to use the cell phone, the smartphone kill switch. They're trying to propose to the country, because they don't want you recording the cops. Bad boy if you do that. And they're saying that 2 short videos posted on YouTube in recent days, one from California, the other from Florida, result in police reaching for the guns against citizens who are recording them. So that camera's a deadly weapon. Well, it's a great weapon for truth. And report cops continue beating dead unarmed suspect. Don Salazar reports, the lawyer for the family whose partridge died after one-sided confrontation, when police says the officers may have continued beating the man even after he was already dead. Family releases new cell phone footage of the man dying in police custody. And we got tons of reports, folks, police, and I still got a stack of police reports. We'll try to get to them at the end of the show at some point, because it's unreal, folks. And before we go, we got Jakari Jackson going to be joining us after the break. And before we go to the break, I want to go to my quote of the week, and it's by John F. Kennedy. And this is for all you people who hate guns. And all you, this is for you Democrats who are for gun control. This is a King Democrat, a good one, John F. Kennedy saying, by calling attention to the well-regulated militia, the security of the nation, and the right of each citizen to keep and bear arms, our founding fathers recognized the essentially civilian nature of our economy. The Second Amendment still remains an important declaration of our basic civilian military relationships, in which every citizen must be ready to participate in the defense of his country. For that reason, I believe the Second Amendment will always be important. President John F. Kennedy, the last real president of the United States. And he's also tried to push Executive Order 1110 to kill the Fed. And another reason why he was shot. And great president. He had his demons in the closet, but you know who doesn't? And he was the last real president, the last non-corporate president of the United States. And we're going to go to a break, and this is the first hour going by already, and we're going to come back with Infowars.com. Good friend of mine, reporter from Infowars, Jakari Jackson. Stay tuned, and you listen to Truth Radio Show with Dan Bidondi at 990WBOB.com. And we are back on Truth Radio Show with Dan Bidondi, folks. This world is going crazy. We got news, stuff heating up all over the place. And, folks, we got a good friend of mine, great reporter who I voted for in the Infowars contest. And he won the Infowars contest for the reporter contest. And good friend of mine, Infowars reporter, Jakari Jackson. How you doing, brother?
Hey, how you doing, Dan?
It's a pleasure to have you on, man, and I miss you, man. I haven't seen these guys in a while. I talk to you here and there, but yeah, I'm happy to have you on the show.
Pleasure to be here, Dan. And like I said, I think I told you I voted for you for the contest way back when.
Yeah, and Jakari is one of the most humblest people I know, man. And he hosts the nightly news perfect. I love it, and he's a great host and everything. And so, Jakari, what are you up to these days?
Just staying busy. We had 2 trips this year. Thus far, I went out to California with some of the crew documenting the radiation levels out there, and also went to the Super Bowl to talk about the police state and educate people about things going on and how they shouldn't sacrifice their liberties, their freedoms just for a football game. And now we're back here in Austin, going to report from South by Southwest, doing various things out there. Don't want to go too much into that. We have a couple of surprises we hope work out. But it's been good, man, just staying busy and staying active in the info war.
Well, awesome. I seen your reports, man, and I love the reports out in California. Who went down there? You and John Bound to California?
No, John Bound did not go on that. It's I guess there's a couple crew members you haven't met. Well, Don. Don went out there.
Yep.
And also 2 of our newer guys, Josh and Glenn. But we had a 4-man crew when we went to New York, New Jersey for the Super Bowl. It's just me and Josh Owens, one of our camera guys. I guess he is somewhat of a reporter. He's been in a few reports. He was down there in Dallas. He was the guy getting shoved around when the Dallas police came and harassed Alex and the crew at the JFK Memorial.
Yeah, I wish I was there for that. Oh man, I seen those and I was infuriated with those videos. But when you went the beaches of California and all up and down the West Coast there, you're picking up a lot of radiation. What was your reaction to that? I mean, am I going to be radiated?
Yeah, that started when a citizen journalist, and this is the topic I want to talk to you about. We can touch more on it a little bit later.
Sure.
Just the power of the citizen journalist, the power of the activist, because, we always get the criticism or we get the question. It's like, you guys are always out here, you're always reporting, but what really happens from this? And this is the perfect example. When we went to California, what spurred us to go out there in the first place is a citizen journalist went out there on his own accord. I believe he shot, his video on an iPhone, went out there with a Geiger counter and found excessively high levels of radiation. So that spurred the local health authorities, as well as journalists like Infowars.com, Direct Report, also linked to our stuff, to go out there and investigate it for ourselves. And there was a local guy, Steve Weiss, I believe was his name. He's an electrical engineer, and he makes his own professional-grade Geiger counters. He went out there, and he found radiation levels in excess of 10 times of what's considered normal for that area. Now, this particular area where we started was Half Moon Bay, California, which is a little bit southwest of the city of San Francisco. So he goes out there, finds the high levels of radiation. We go out there, find similar levels of radiation in excess of 10 times of what's considered normal. And we do a man on the street, talk to various people, various locals. And I talked to one lady. She said her friend is going bald, and she believes it's exactly due to her friend swimming in the waters of Half Moon Bay. And other people said, once they found out about the radiation, they wouldn't allow their kids to swim in it. So this spurred us on our trip, and we went as far north as Oregon and as far south as San Diego, California. And for the people who live on the West Coast, they can be a little easier knowing that the highest concentration of radiation we found was in Half Moon Bay. I mean, it's unfortunate for the people who were there, but we definitely found lower levels of radiation going north and south. But Dan, it was recently, was it Canada or Alaska? They said they have the plume of radiation from Fukushima has made contact with the shores of the West Coast, which had been predicted by various scientists, to contact the United States West Coast in 2014, and that now, in fact, has happened.
And I also seen the reports on the fish, how the fish have tumors too, and we talked about last week about Canada and everything, and this is crazy. And how long is it going to take for it to reach the East Coast? I mean, it's got a ways to go, but I mean, how long is it going to take before all the oceans are affected by this?
Well, it's like anything. Whether it's the radiation from Fukushima or it's the Gulf oil spill, these disasters happen. We can debate whether or not, more could have been done to prevent these things. But once these things happen, people really aren't prepared for the aftermath, and the Gulf oil spill was proof positive of that. because they dump a chemical in the water, which is actually worse than the oil itself, to suck up the oil. And it doesn't even get rid of the oil. It just makes it into clumps. So when it lands on the shore, they can, I guess if they wanted to, collect the clumps. You know, it's a very toxic chemical. Many people have gotten sick from that. So, you know, my concern is once the federal government gets up, you know, the nerve to actually inform the people, what is their response going to be? Because Anthony Gucciardi did a report for StoryLeak.com and also Infowars.com about how the federal government is buying up protective measures for themselves, radioactive armament, so to speak, things to protect your body from radiation, but they're not telling anybody else. And, you know, that's the question. Why don't you guys go out and buy all these measures en masse and then not inform the people if there's something that needs to be known about it? So, you know, if we see the rather half-measure way that they attack the Gulf oil spill, what's going to happen once they decide to actually do something on the west coast of the United States, or whenever this stuff gets to a high enough level any place in the world?
Yeah, I mean, it's unreal, man. And, you know, I mean, again, the fish and people, I guess, wanting others not to eat the sushi in Japan as well. And
oh, yeah, you're talking about the fish, Dan. That was another thing. We didn't personally encounter those, but there's a lot of what they call melting starfish. Oh, and for the people who aren't familiar with these were the starfish. They're actually deteriorating. Divers, you know, guys who go out there with their snorkels, they've found these in various pools along the coast of California. And I think there's a high concentration around Monterey Bay, California. People can go look that up. And, you know, the starfish are just melting, and nobody really knows why. We talked to a biologist at the University of Oregon at their biology lab, or we talked to him over the phone, and he said, you know, he was baffled himself. He wasn't sure what was causing these anomalies, as well as the conjoined gray whales, which, you know, a conjoined anything is somewhat of a rare occurrence. But the city of Los Angeles, they said that was the first, with their records division there, said that was the first conjoined gray whale they have on the books since they started taking notes years ago, as well as some other anomalies, like you mentioned, the fish with the tumors, bald eagles catching tumors now, just all kinds of crazy things going on.
Unbelievable. Oh, yeah, wasn't it, I think it was EPA or one of Obama's people that last year went on record to say that the radiation is actually good for you?
Oh, yeah. A little radiation is good for you, which, I mean, I guess if you think about radiation, let's talk about, you know, the sun gives off levels of radiation, yeah, right? So you can go out in the sun and get a healthy dose of radiation, but they, and I guess, you know, it was kind of the sleight of hand kind of deal. They wanted you to think that, you know, getting a tan and soaking in some radioactive waste is somewhat healthy for you, but those are two completely different things. You're mixing apples and oranges. You know, they're mixing a bit of truth and, you know, just trying to deceive the mass populace with it. But, you know, it's an expected outcome. Because
well, it's the same thing that TSA does. You know, when you take off in a plane, you get a low dose of radiation, but it's terrestrial radiation. It's not the same radiation that fires off from these backscatter machines and everything, and the frequencies there. But I mean, like, this is insane, man. And so I mean, you guys go back out there to do another report and take more readings.
Thus far, I don't know of any reports or any assignments to go out there in the near future. I've heard mentions of an East Coast tour. I don't know how prevalent that's going to be because, you know, we have a lot of things back at home base we're trying to get done. You know, a lot of ads. Obama Deception 2's been up in the air for a while. The guys are trying to get that finished, as well as we got a new studio, which I think the new studio will be premiered in a ad. I guess I can't talk too much about, but they have a new advertisement I think it's going to show the world our new studio, and I'll just leave it at that. Sweet. Yeah, and, you know, just getting things going back at home base, because I don't know if you recall, Alex was supposed to talk at, I believe it was Oxford, and he had to cancel the trip because he just had so much stuff going on at home base. And so we're just all digging in, trying to get everything ready. As far as foreseeable trips that could actually happen in the near future, there was the Mock City. I can't remember what state that's in, but they built a Mock City for
Virginia.
Army training.
That was Virginia.
Yes, in Virginia. And so there's been talks of going out there. You know, of course, they don't want any media to come in and film their drills targeting Americans, because, you know, they say it's a foreign city. You know, I guess some type of Middle Eastern city, or whatever they're trying to spin it as. But you go there, they have churches, they have buses, they have signs in English, they have subways. I'm like, where in Afghanistan do they have a good functioning subway?
Yeah, really.
I mean, it's such a ridiculous notion, and it just goes in line with what we know. Yes, I know you keep up, Dan. They have the DHS, the Department of Homeland Security. They're buying up bullets. They're buying up paper targets of men, women, and children. Yes, I said children.
Yep.
You can go to, I believe it's No Hesitation Targets. They blocked the site, but you can find those images on.
And also, they just purchased a bunch of sniper rounds not too long ago.
Yeah, they got sniper rounds. They got hollow point rounds that are banned by Geneva Convention.
The U.S. Postal Service too.
It's a lot of things.
Yeah, and I proposed to Rob too. Basically, I wanted to go out do some readings at the oceans here, not to go off the subject here. So hopefully, you could come out and John or somebody, Darren, come out, get together and hang out and go do some readings on the East Coast here, because I live in the ocean state. I mean, there's ocean all over Rhode Island here. We got the famous Newport. I mean, it's all historical here, and I would be anxious to learn what the radiation levels are in these places. And speaking Homeland Security, I mean, Homeland Security's been all over Rhode Island. I mean, I've been trying to get out, and because people call me, oh, Homeland Security, they got vehicles all over the place, just on each corner, and when I get out there, they're not there, whatever, and I'm trying to get these on camera and everything, but I got a bunch of reports lined up for Infowars, and I guess when the studio's done, I can start working again, because there's not enough editors down there, but it's a lot of work down in Infowars. You know that of all people, Jakari, and you wear more than one hat when you work for Infowars, and it's a lot of work, a lot of information to get out, but man, it's entrenched, but we're going to go to break, but if you want to stay right there, we'll get and talk about the Super Bowl and the activism and everything. All right, so stay right there. We'll be right back on Truth Radio Show with Dan Bidondi. And a trip to the Super Bowl requires getting molested by the TSA, more than likely, getting searched, violated, radiated, x-rayed, groped, the whole 9 yards. And Jakari Jackson, he was at the Super Bowl. And what was it like, Jakari? I mean, could you describe the police state that was going down on there?
Oh, yeah. Well, to your first question about the TSA, of course, we were traveling through the airports and the TSA was out there in full effect. But, what was funny to me when we were on our way back to Austin, Texas, this is the day after the Super Bowl, the Monday after the Super Bowl, we're walking through TSA, and the TSA waves us right through. So, you have this huge event with, I guess, if they're searching for a potential terrorist, this is definitely, they have the numbers to do it. And we get up to the screening area. They don't make us do the pat down. Because, I always get the pat down because I don't want to go through the naked body scanner and our guys film it when we get the pat downs. But there's like, no, sir, you don't have to get the pat down. Just walk straight through the machine. It's not on. So I just ran through the machine so I couldn't get an image of it. But it just shows the security theater. It's so arbitrary, like, well, this guy's probably not a terrorist. We'll just let him walk through. Just the silliness of it. But, yes, the police state was in full effect at Super Bowl 48. This was in the New Jersey area. And when we first got there, when we touched down and we hopped in the cab and we went down to the MetLife Stadium, we were expecting to find an area of, the diehard fans maybe out there doing the tailgate. So we pull up in the taxi cab and we ask the guy, say, hey man, where's the tailgate? And the guy just looks at us crazy. He's like, man, there's no tailgating at the Super Bowl. I was like, what do you mean there's no tailgating? I thought the guy was, pulling our leg. He's like, no, there's no tailgating at the Super Bowl. Because the way they had it, Dan, is they blocked off huge sections of the parking lot. We got a little bit of footage of this when we went up there. They blocked up huge sections of the parking lot and made sure that very few people could drive into the Super Bowl. Wow. There were only 3 ways to get into the Super Bowl. You could drive your personal car, but you had to have a permit, and the permits were very, very, very few for the number of people who went there, just a very small number. And then you could ride the train or you could take the bus. And local news reported that of the, I believe, 80,000 people who went there, the 80,000 fans who went there, 30,000 rode the train. So, in my mind, that's great training to get somebody to a particular venue. You've limited their ways of travel. You can even be dropped off at the Super Bowl. You can have your taxi cab, drop you off like a few blocks away and walk up there. They wouldn't even allow you to do that.
Unbelievable. So they want to
you had
consolidate
to ride
the
this train, and I was like, wow, this is, a great way to train to get people to a particular area, to a particular venue. Just force 30,000 people to ride a train.
Unbelievable.
And not just there, but before I talk about Times Square, we were at the Super Bowl, and we did a video on this, and people didn't believe it. Once we got to the Super Bowl, nobody asked for our tickets, and which I thought was the most ridiculous thing. So if next year, if you're someplace where the Super Bowl is going to be, just wait till about 10, 15 minutes after kickoff, and then just walk straight into the stadium, and you'll be just fine. Because to get on the train to go to the Super Bowl, we had some guy glance at our tickets just to get on the train. He didn't, light check it with the infrared, not the infrared, but you know what I'm talking about. They have those light pins.
Yep.
They can check to see if they're legitimate or not. He didn't do any scanning of it. He just glances, oh, you guys got a ticket. So we hop on the train. We ride the train down to the Super Bowl. Once we touch down at MetLife Stadium, not a single person asked to see our tickets. So that just goes another step to show the security theater that goes on there, not to mention all the snipers. And I believe between various agencies and privately hired security, they had about 3,000 security agents for the Super Bowl. I can't swear on it, but I even think I saw somebody from the Department of Corrections out there. I mean, anybody who they could get to come out there.
Was there Black Hawks there too? Black Hawk choppers?
Yes. Black Hawk choppers. They said they had F-16s on standby, and the helicopters were flying through the entire game. The entire game, they had helicopters circling, which didn't make me feel good because I was like, well, what if there is some guy who's trying to, set off a bomb in my area? That chopper is going to kill everybody in my section trying to take out this one guy. Not to mention the snipers in the stadium. And, we were there, and we had our cameras on Zoom trying to look and see if we can find the sniper, but he did a good job. We couldn't spot him.
So, yeah.
But, it goes to show, the level of security theater that they will have. And the thing that really got me about it, Dan, was it wasn't, okay, we didn't have a terrorist attack, so, maybe next year we don't need as many guys. No, they're going to have just as many guys next year because they're going to be running around high-fiving each other like, yeah, we stopped any potential terrorist from coming here. Even though on local news, on multiple stations, they would have, the head of the local sheriff's department or the local police chief or whoever, some guy from DHS, all on the news station saying that, yeah, we have all the security, but if somebody wants to attack the train stations, we can't stop them. They admit this on local news. All these guys, all the top brass,
all the millions of dollars, all the attack choppers, and yeah. And it's on record, too. TSA has to stop one terrorist.
They kept stressing the lone wolf. They cannot stop a single guy if he wanted to do something.
Unbelievable, man. It's draconian, man. And we all been talking about Infowars for a while. That's going to be one of many sporting events. I mean, just to go see AA Division baseball game, you're probably going to be ready walking into the stadium and molested it. I mean, this is crazy.
It is crazy because I went to my niece's graduation a few years ago, and her high school graduation. And back when I graduated, I'm not even that old. I'm 27. But when I graduated high school, you just walked into the building.
Yep.
That's pretty much it. And you sat down and you enjoyed the graduation. But when I went to my niece's graduation, I had to have a ticket. And it didn't happen to me because I didn't have a bag, but they were searching bags of everybody who walked into the venue. And I was like, man, this is a police state just ratcheting up. And it just gets you so acclimated because we did a man on the street when we were asking people about the measures at the Super Bowl. They said, well, if that's what it takes to keep our country safe, I'm fine getting a pat down at the Super Bowl. And I said, okay, how would you feel about getting a pat down or being pulled over by a TSA Viper team? Because they have those as well for the people who aren't aware. The TSA isn't just at the airports. We saw the TSA in the train station, Secaucus Junction, New Jersey. We have it on video. When we were walking through, they're checking people's bags to get on the train. They're out in the streets. They also have the TSA Viper teams that will pull you over, search your car. Oh, it's, we got to make sure you don't have Al-Qaeda in here, and then let you on your way. And it's really prisoner training. That's really what it boils down to, Dan.
Absolutely. We're almost running out of time, but if you want to bring up Times Square, you were talking about?
Yes. We went to Times Square. It's, all the pageantry. It's a very beautiful city, very nicely done. But, they have multiple cameras on every street corner, up and down the streets. More police officers I think I've ever seen at any event anywhere. The draconian measures out there, all the cops. Luckily, I didn't have any issues with the NYPD. They have the stop and frisk and so forth. I personally had no issues with the NYPD while I was there, so I will give them that credit. But also at the same time, it's on the news, the stop and frisk, and they're making different measures to, try to crack down on that. But it's a beautiful police state. Like Michelle Obama said, it's like living in a very nice prison. That's pretty much how I would describe it.
And don't forget the thousands of cameras sponsored by Homeland Security that put it all over the city. The tele street lights going in. I don't know if they're in New York yet, but man, we're living in George Orwell's 1984. Man, this is crazy. And any new reports you got coming up?
Oh, we've been doing a lot of, my beat is usually Second Amendment, and also not necessarily police brutality, but police state, and that falls in line with the cameras and all that. I'll be doing a lot of stuff at South by Southwest, talking to various things, various people, various events out there. Nothing too sensational that I could think of at the moment, but, just the normal going through the motions.
And we got about 2 minutes left, so if you want to plug anything, I know we got to plug the iodine we have at Infowars, and that's on.
Oh yeah, if anybody's interested in the things we talked about today, or learning more about whatever topics are in the world, you can definitely go to Infowars.com, and also the Infowars shop. That's where you can get the great products that Dan mentioned, the nascent iodine that protects your thyroid from things such as radiation. It's just a good thing to protect yourself in general. As well as the Infowars store. You can get the great DVDs, the books, the movies you hear that are associated with Alex Jones, Obama Deception, the Endgame. You can get the great T-shirts, the Come and Take It T-shirts, the Molon Labe T-shirts. And, I definitely appreciate you giving me the time to plug, Dan, but I'm definitely interested in your work and seeing what else you come up with, and all the great stuff that you're doing out there, because as busy as we are, we definitely have, crew to back us up, but you're kind of a one-man band up there in Rhode Island. So, but we always look forward to seeing your reports, and I really enjoyed that report you did about the mall up there would have the UN flag flying above it.
Yeah,
because people just can't believe, because we did a story about that here in Texas. Kit Daniels, one of our writers at Infowars, he did a story about how the Alamo is being considered to be a United Nations World Heritage Site. And he got attacked for saying that a UN flag could potentially fly above the Alamo, even though if you go to the city of Alamo or visit alamo.gov, you go to the official Alamo site, it says they're in with the UN, the United Nations, to become a World Heritage Site. But, for whatever reason, that's not true, and we got attacked for that. But, it's just at the end of the day, those guys make themselves look stupid, because
they do.
Any sixth grader doing a report can go there and find that information for themselves.
And Jakari, thank you so much for coming on. I want to have you back on again in the future, and great reports and everything. And I look forward to seeing your reports too. And I should be pumping up some reports after the studios are built, and especially with the spring, we got tons of things coming up in New England here. And hope Alex flies up, you guys up here, and we could do a report on the beaches and everything with the radiation. And again, thank you for coming on. And this is Jakari Jackson from Infowars.com. And take care, brother. God bless you, man.
All right, thanks, Dan.
Now it's Jakari Jackson, Infowars.com, folks, and we will be right back. We got Dr. Scott Liveley, activist, author, pastor, Human Rights Award winner, 2014 governor candidate for Massachusetts, coming up next. We're talking about the Ukraine. Stay tuned. And great report by Jakari Jackson, Infowars.com. The guy's like a brother, man, and I wish I had more time to spend with him and everything. And looking forward to going down here, them coming up and hanging out and doing some reports together. But next we got on the line, we got Dr. Scott Liveley. He's an activist, author, pastor, lawyer, Human Rights Award winner in France, and now the 2014 Massachusetts governor candidate. And Mr. Dr. Scott Liveley, how you doing, sir?
Doing great.
And it's a pleasure to have you on. Great. The show's going by quick, man. But great guests like yourself and Jakari, and I sit looking at your profile. I'm like, wow, this guy has been all over the place.
I have. Yeah.
And so you're running for governor in 2014 here from Massachusetts.
Yes, I grew up in Shelburne Falls, but I left in 1977. Was gone for 30 years. My wife and I currently run an inner city mission here in Springfield, and my goal is to bring biblical values back into the political process here in Massachusetts.
Oh, God bless you. That's great.
Amen. Amen.
Amen to that, man. And we need more people like you in office and politics, and because of the establishment, they want to keep religion and politics separate, so the elite, the New World Order, could push our agendas on us. But we need people like you in office, and so you're a pastor and activist as well, and you were talking about the Ukraine. You went to visit the Ukraine not too long ago.
Well, I did a 50-city tour of the former Soviet Union in 2006 and 2007. One of the countries, I was in 8 former Soviet countries. Ukraine was one of them. I was also in Russia, Poland, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Belarus, and anyway, it was quite a list. It was quite an experience. But yeah, I have familiarity with that region, and I think I have some opinions on the current so-called crisis going on in that part of the world.
Well, voice your opinion, brother, and this is what the show is about. We don't censor nobody, and and especially you being a biblical person like myself. I'm sure your opinion's got to be great.
Well, I'm actually siding with the Russians on this.
Same here.
What it really looks like is a New World Order coup, and the Russians kind of being punished. Actually, I believe that a lot of this has to do with Putin's and Russia's stand against homosexuality. I think that's really driving a lot of the passions in the Obama State Department and the EU, and that they might not have moved on this as rapidly if that hadn't happened. But they're really angry at Putin for having signed the bill prohibiting homosexual propaganda to children. This is central to the globalist agenda. Homosexuality. It's a bizarre phenomenon.
When I heard about that, I had to take my hat off to Putin, because he, especially doing it before the Olympics, he said he don't want his youth being indoctrinated by that stuff, and God bless that guy for standing up against that. And that's some big stuff. That's good. And
yeah, well, that actually was what I was advocating when I was in Russia. I did, like I said, I did a 50-city tour. I was working with a Russian-speaking church based in Riga, Latvia, called New Generation. And they have churches in 14 Russian-speaking countries. And they have an emphasis in their denomination on taking the cities for Christ. And so I was going from city to city, being hosted by the various different local churches in that denomination, and was very impressed with their approach. But in the process, I was lecturing in universities, I was speaking at conferences, I was meeting with government officials and whatnot. And throughout that whole time, I was encouraging the Russian-speaking people to stand up against the homosexual agenda, specifically to protect their kids from gay propaganda. And the last city of the tour was St. Petersburg, where I published my letter to the Russian people. I actually laid out specific, points, including prohibition on propaganda to children. And that, interestingly, 3 years later, that was the first city that adopted that anti-propaganda law. Several other Russian cities followed suit, and then the national government adopted it, and Putin signed it. So I had a part to play in that. I'm not claiming full credit, because it's really sort of intuitive that you would protect children from that agenda. But I'm pleased. I think it's one of the things that I'm most proud of in my career.
Amen, brother. My hat's off to you too, and that's a huge achievement to do that. And yeah, just think, you took part of saving so many children, like their for their sexual mortality and their soul, so to speak. And you took a big part of saving these children from being indoctrinated. I mean, look at America. I mean, you see guys and girls in the schools walking around holding hands and kissing. I mean, our country's going down to hell in the handbasket.
Yeah, it's right now, as of January 1st, it's 3 years now that the state of California has mandatory indoctrination of all public school children from kindergarten through 12th grade in gay propaganda. So the very thing that the Russians have actually banned is mandated by the state of California, and of course they want to do it across the whole United States. They just haven't implemented it yet. But this is serious business. This is a global agenda that is attempting to homosexualize the world, and there are very few people with the courage to stand up to it. And Putin is one. For all of the flaws that he may have, I believe he is genuine in his concern about his country. You know, really, when you look back on history, you realize that it was the Soviets that were pushing homosexuality and the sexual revolution here in the United States to damage us, while they were protecting their own people from it because they knew the harm that it would cause. So while we pat ourselves on the back saying, yeah, we won the Cold War, you know, Ronald Reagan and the arms race, you know, that's true, but at the same time, we swallowed a poison that the Marxists introduced to our culture that's still killing us. So, you know, nobody really survived the Cold War undamaged. And ironically now, the Russian Federation seems to be going back to the pre-Soviet Christian model that it had before, the Tsarist model, and the United States is turning into a kind of a gay Soviet Union, where all the cultural Marxist agenda is being implemented, and socialists are running all of the aspects of our culture. It's bizarre.
Oh, it is very bizarre. I mean, like, it's unreal. I mean, like, I know, you know, like my uncle, he was in the Vietnam War and all that, and he's just baffled. He goes, when I was a kid, I mean, it was unheard of somebody coming out and say, oh, I'm homosexual. It was unheard of. Even people in prison, I mean, the guards would beat the people, you know what I mean, if they were homosexual. And now it's just like openly welcome. And they teach about it. And there's crap in our schools to say, oh, it's okay if you have sex with your best friend who's the same sex. Just make sure you use the condom. No, never mind that's morally wrong to have sex, period, with a guy or a girl until you get married. But, you know, make sure you use a condom, and it's okay, though. You know, it's a spiritual phenomenon, right? There's nothing in the history of the world that has grown this fast. Not Islam, not Marxism, not Darwinism. The homosexual movement has gone just in a half century. It's gone from being illegal in every country of the world except for Sweden, which decriminalized sodomy in 1938. But every other country of the world it was illegal, and a half century later, this tiny group of people has more power in the legislatures and the courtrooms of the world than the Christian church does. That has to be a spiritual phenomenon, and we are seeing really it's a global movement, that incredible power, and now our own federal government, which has been pushing this for a long time. You know, when I was in Riga, Latvia, in 2007, and one of the reasons I was there in that city is I was trying to help them stop the gay pride parade that the European Union was trying to force Latvia to have gay pride parades, and we were fighting that. And it turns out that the people that were pushing it and funding it was the U.S. State Department. It was the ambassador. It was being run out of the U.S. Embassy in Riga. And me and Pastor Ken Hutcherson, who just passed away from pancreatic cancer, sadly, a couple months ago, the two of us actually went and confronted the staff at the embassy on what they were doing. And this was under Bush. This wasn't even under Obama. This is under Bush. And then John Kerry, just a few days ago, I think, but sometime recently, announced that he was going to be putting the entire force of the U.S. government, the entire State Department, in a process and program of confronting all the morally conservative countries of the world
and using the power of the United States State Department to advance homosexuality as a human right, which, of course, never was until it was invented as a human rights category just at the end of the 20th century. Anyway, so that's how bad things really are.
Oh, yeah, and it's not. It doesn't only stop there. I mean, look, we got Pope Francis, who's adorning. I mean, it was article release. They saw the top things he did in 2013, and one was winning the approval of the gay, lesbian activist groups, the big organizations and the atheists, the Muslims, to say we all serve the same God, but I don't serve the same God as the Muslims because they serve a moon god. But the thing is, they got the Pope behind them now. They got the whole Catholic Church as now accepting gay and lesbians, and anything that stands for God in the mainstream is totally destroyed by plan by the Illuminati years ago. That's what they set out to do. And as great pastors, they're called rogue pastors, but they're great pastors like yourself who preach the truth and don't bow down to political correctness and preach the word of God.
Amen. You mentioned at the beginning of the program, the separation of church and state that's been, which is a false concept. Well, you know who put that through, and if you really want to see the fall of America, it really began in earnest. I mean, we've been fighting a very long battle between biblical Christianity and Marxism all the way back from the end of the 1800s. But we were winning that battle up until 1947, when the U.S. Supreme Court knocked America off the foundation of the Bible and tried to place it on the foundation of secular humanism. And the person who did that was the majority opinion was written by Justice Hugo Black, who was a Freemason and a Ku Klux Klansman. And he also wrote the majority opinion for Tocasso v. Watkins in 1961, which elevated atheism to equality with belief in God. So first, they declared this wall of separation between church and state,
unbelievable,
and pushing God out of the of authority, so that the government could no longer prefer the belief in God over the belief that there is no God, and that was the beginning of the end. Then when 61 came along, they elevated atheism and said that's equal to belief in God legally. That was then the reason.
Well, you want to hold your thoughts, sir? We got to go to a break, and when we get back, we'll come right back where you left off, and because this all ties in together, folks. Everything he's speaking all ties in together with the New World Order, globalist plans, the Illuminati's agendas, and we'll be right back on the Truth Radio Show with Dan Bidondi. Once land of the free, home of the brave, in God we trust, and this country, folks, has been infiltrated on every front possible. Globalist plans set up by the Illuminati, their protocols way back 200 years ago, back in 1776 and so on. It's all here now, folks, and we're joined here by Dr. Scott Liveley. Hi, Scott, and we could pick up where you left off. I'm sorry, we had to go to a break quick.
Oh, yeah. I was basically just saying that I was pointing out sort of the history of the decline of the U.S. as a power, and the serious trouble began with Everson versus Board of Education, 1947, and Justice Hugo Black, a 33rd degree Mason, was the majority opinion writer of that. And it knocked America off its foundation, its biblical foundation, which had been on from the very beginning, and we began the downward spiral that we've been in at that point. 1961, Tocasso v. Watkins was the case that elevated atheism to equality with belief in God, and that because of that ruling, that was the legal step that allowed them to remove prayer from the public schools in 1963, and all of the attacks that we've been seeing ever since, trying to take every vestige of Christianity out of public life, is all the result of those Supreme Court cases. And we've seen our society sort of the infrastructure of America just slowly deteriorating and disintegrating since that time. really the only thing that could save us from ultimate collapse is to restore the God of the Bible as the God of America, because blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. We were established as a Christian nation. We maintain respect and honor of God all the way through until officially we knocked God off the altar, off the pedestal, and officially embraced secular humanism as the guiding force. And really, and at that time, we switched from having the rule of law to having the rule of man, because the rule of law can only exist when the people acknowledge that there's a law above the law, that we're accountable to God, everyone's accountable to God, and that justice is an attempt to find out what God wants from us. But then, once you reject the idea that there's a law above the law, once you can no longer say that America rests on a biblical foundation, then you have nothing left but the opinions of men to be ruled by. So we came under the rule of man in 1947, and we're no longer under the rule of law, the rule of God.
And just to elaborate on what you're saying about the America being a Christian nation, the Articles of Confederation, 1636, I believe it was called the Old Diluted Satan Act. It was to teach kids in America to read and write the Bible and learn the Bible on their own so they wouldn't be deceived by the Dark Ages. And also the first 121 colleges, the 123 colleges established here in America were all established on Christian values, and their mottos were Christian mottos as well. Go ahead.
Amen.
Yep.
Yeah, and right out of the gate, when we were established as a nation, when the Pilgrims got blown off course, they landed in a different place than they had a legal contract that they were following when they were heading over here, and if they had landed in the right place, they would have been under the legal authority of that contract, and had possession by virtue of that legal document of the territory that they were originally going to land in. But because they got blown off course, they had no legal authority. And so when they landed in Plymouth, they drafted their own constitution called the Mayflower Compact to grant themselves and to establish a legal foundation and authority to operate by. That Mayflower Compact said very specifically that they were establishing it for the advancement of the Christian faith, and that was the first Constitution of America, and founded on the Mayflower Compact was a whole series of subsequent documents leading up to the Declaration of Independence and then the U.S. Constitution.
Which,
so
by the way,
always
does say
were a Christian nation.
Yeah, but and even today it says we're endowed by our Creator. You know what I mean? And like the Star Spangled Banner. Today's version is not the real version. I mean, they speak of God. It was created out of the lawyer was at Fort Henry, I believe, but it was all to do with Christianity in that song that they ripped out in this modern day version. I mean, like it's entrenched. I mean, like the Christianity is entrenched in American history and the foundation. But the thing is, those who like today they rewrite history to say, oh no, we had nothing to do with Christianity. You know what I mean?
That's right. Yeah, they're censoring Christianity. They're slowly eliminating all references to Christianity from the history books. The children in the public schools today know absolutely nothing about the Christian foundations of the nation. It used to be that every child, when they went to public school, they would actually have to read George Washington's inaugural address and his farewell address. These are documents that are powerful sermons. In fact, stronger sermons than you'll hear in 95% of the churches of America today. And but they're censored because the secular humanist authorities want to make sure that the young people don't understand their foundations. They don't read the writings of the founders. As if they did, then they would realize that they're being lied to by the current culture. So,
amen to that.
Anyway.
And, it's just like it's really sickening. And but the thing is, we know who wins in the end. We know that. And, Yeshua Messiah, Lord Jesus Christ wins in the end. And, the thing is, we need people like you in office. I mean, if you were to, become governor of Massachusetts, your influence, I mean, you could spark a seed that could implant God back into the lives, God and back into the morals of these children. And that's where they started. And you notice they attacked the youth. They always attack the youth first because they know the older generation ain't going to turn. They'll attack the youth, indoctrinate them, so they'll be accustomed to this godless society. And it's on record when they took prayer out of school, the crime rates went through the roof, the pregnancy rates went through the roof, the dropout rates went through the roof, the mortality is going all overboard. I mean, it's sickening what's going on in the schools today. And, we need something done. And, hopefully God allows you to become governor of Massachusetts.
Well, it would take a miracle for it to happen. I'm probably the most conservative gubernatorial candidate anywhere in the United States in this election cycle, and I'm running for office in the most liberal state in the union. It's the bluest of the blue states. So the only way that Scott Liveley has any chance at all is by a miracle from God. But our God is a God of miracles. So if He wants it to happen, there's nobody that can stand against Him. But by the same token, if He doesn't want it, there's nothing that anybody can do to make it happen.
Exactly.
So I'm not running a campaign like the normal campaign that you would see people running, because human resources are not going to prevail in this situation. It's only the hand of God that can make it happen. So I'm following a strategy of just simply of prayer, of speaking simple, plain truth, and frankly, I sort of see this contest as like Elijah and the prophets of Baal. If you remember that Bible story,
yep.
The Elijah against the 400 prophets of Baal, and the contest was for both sides to try to call down God's fire, and when it came Elijah's turn, he was pouring water on the wood, just so that it would be absolutely clear that when God did it, it had nothing to do with Elijah's power. It was all God, and that's the way I see myself.
Amen. And that's what drives me. I mean, I'm sure you see my confrontation in Boston with the whole marathon, and I confronted the governor, Patrick Duvall, the FBI, and all that. That's what was driving through me. It's like God. My friend Kevin here, he was my cameraman, but we were driven by God. We felt that spirit with us, and we knew we were walking in the face of evil. We were in a pit of evil. We were on those feds and the Secret Service and all that. But we got about a little over a minute left, and how could people reach out to you and get in touch with you and find you?
Well, I have two websites. For the campaign, it's liveleyforgovernor.com. It's pretty easy to remember, liveleyforgovernor.com. And in terms of my global ministry, Standing Up for Family Values, it's defendthefamily.com, defendthefamily.com. So, and I'd love to hear from people. You can reach me by email, and I'd love to have, anyway, in fact, anybody that wants to help me get out my literature, get signatures for getting on the ballot, I could use that help. So you can contact me through either one of those websites.
And anybody wants to send donations, I'm sure I need help with that. You got a donation page too?
Yeah, there's a donation page on liveleyforgovernor.com. Well, actually, there's a donation page on defendthefamily.com also.
Oh, great.
But they're two different purposes for
Well, it was
money.
a pleasure talking to you, and I do want to have you back on, touch base with you, how your campaign's going and all that as elections heat up. And Scott Liveley, thank you. God bless you, brother, and I'll be in touch soon.
Thank you, Dan. God bless you and all your audience.
Thank you, sir.
Bye now.
And Scott Liveley, and I want to thank him for coming on, and also my good buddy Jakari Jackson. And next week we're going to try to drag on Dave Kopaz about Agenda 21, and try to get I want to get Leanne McAdoo on next from Infowars, and John Bound, and again Alex Jones eventually, but he's a very busy man. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Tune us in next week, 8 p.m. Eastern, and check me out at www.truthradioshow.com. And thanks for listening to the Truth Radio Show with Dan Bidondi. Have a good week. God bless. And this is 990wbob.com. Transmission ended.